So today I am super excited because we are going to be redoing and building out these enclosures right behind me to what they look right now to these enclosures right here. So stick around to see the step-by-step process of how I built these enclosures. My name is Nick Pulaski. Growing up, I have always had a passion for wildlife, and with that passion, along with my passion of filmmaking, I get taken on some amazing adventures creating wildlife content, getting up close with a variety of incredible animals. So come follow along as I pursue my goals of educating, inspiring, exploring, and conserving wildlife, all while having fun, seeing the beauty in our natural world. What is going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me here today. I'm super excited today because we are finally working on this project, and these are my favorite projects to work with, is redoing and building out enclosures. So that's what we're going to be doing with these guys. Now, you may remember a few months back I actually did start building these guys out a little bit and did some little tweaks here and there, and that would be with these two cork rounds right here, and that's basically to make these two cages accessible for one species of snake, or I can separate them as well too. So there's a video on that as well too if you want to look back and see that. But in between here is a PVC pipe where I can cap it off, and I can make these three separate enclosures, or I can make these two right here one full enclosure, and the snake can, or whatever animal goes in here, can go back and forth in between with ease. And I really did that because I wanted to make these two enclosures really made for like a breeding projects down the line, specifically for my red-tailed green rat snake. Johnny is the one that I have right now. We're still looking for a gal for him right now. A nice girlfriend would be great, something that we could potentially raise up. That's something down the line we're going to do. And really what I want to do today, and the goal for these enclosures, is I don't want them to look like this anymore. I want them to be from top to bottom completely natural looking. I think we're going to more so go for something that's semi-bioactive, not fully bioactive. So there's definitely going to be maintenance involved with these, and that's totally cool with me. That's not my goal. My goal is to give these animals a nice naturalistic setup. So like I said, two of these are mainly going to be for the red-tailed green rat snakes that are from Southeast Asia. These are all going to be arboreal species of snakes that are going to go in these guys. These are 18 inches wide by 30 inches tall and about 15 inches deep. They'll be perfect for these species to grow out in until they need potentially something bigger as well too. But for right now, I'm super stoked to give these guys what they deserve, a naturalistic, super cool setup. It's not only going to be great for them, but it's also going to be great for me to be viewing these as well too, as well as you guys. I hope you guys enjoy these as well too. So I'm going to be building these things out, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So like I said, we're going to have the rat snakes in one thing. Let me show you who else we're going to be putting in these as well. And here's the other guy right here. This is my jungle carpet python Ozzy right here. You guys may remember me showing this guy off a few months ago. This guy I actually picked up as a rehoming situation. As you can see, he was kind of trying to go up and stuff, and that's basically common for the species because these guys are arboreal. But what do you think, Ozzy? I'm going to put you down right now. We're going to see you a little bit later, and we're going to get you a brand new enclosure. What do you think about that? We have a lot of work to do. Basically, these enclosures right here, they're going to start with having very similar backgrounds, but then the insides where I put branches and hides and everything like that, that's all going to be different. Same with plants as well too. We're going to divvy it up with that a little bit as well too. So we're going to start with the basics right now, which is basically just the walls, and we're going to basically tile these out. And how we're going to do that exactly is with these right here. So Zoom In, not as sponsored, but they are part of what we're going to be using right here, which are these big pieces of 18 by 24 inch cork tiles right here, and they are perfect for backgrounds. I literally can just put this right over here in the background, and it will be just like so. I'll just move out of the way a little bit so you can kind of see. But it's not going to be directly on the ground because I don't want that fully on the ground, because if water seeps in or anything like that, I don't want this cork to essentially rot or anything like that. So it's going to be about 1.5 inches off the ground, and I'm going to have little spacers that are going to help it while it cures with the silicone. We're going to let it cure, and then we're going to move on to the next one, and we're just going to do that down the line with all three of these. So I have 3 of these big ones right here, and then afterwards we're going to cork tile the sides as well too. Let's get this wall in place and go down the line, shall we? So right here I do have the cork tile over here, and we're going to be using the back of it like so. So I'm going to put this right here, and I also do have aquarium safe silicone. So this silicone, basically what makes it aquarium safe is it does not have a mold inhibitor in it as well too. That's going to prevent mold from growing in it. So this is a complete 100% silicone right here. This is definitely something you would want to get. I highly recommend it. And you don't want to put your animal immediately back in an enclosure when you're using silicone. You want it to cure, and you want the chemicals to kind of dissipate as well too in the air. So you want to make sure you don't do that so nothing is toxic for your animal. Now also, you saw in here as well too, these are going to be my stilts. They're just 2 basically screw boxes right here. So I'm going to have these right here. It's going to be perfect in terms of the gap that I would want in here, and that's basically going to be covered with bedding so you're never going to see it. We're going to run some beads. Doesn't have to be perfect by any stretch, but basically I'm just going to run a bead all across here like so. I just want this to be secure in place, so I'm going to run it maybe right around here as well. And they wouldn't be able to get back behind here or anything like that by the time this is all said and done as well too. You want to be mindful of that and make sure that there's no gaps or anything like that that these animals could get behind. But for these snakes, these guys are going to be totally fine. They won't be able to get back here. And snakes are great at finding nooks and crevices to hide in. So we did that. We got all this in place. And avoid getting this on my fingers. Not that it's hard to get off, I just don't want it on it. And as you can see, the wall completely fits snug. Like so. That is all in place. So everything is good here. There's no gaps or anything that these snakes can get by. And the top here is going to be covered with stuff anyway, so I'm not too worried about that anyway. But yeah, everything is in place. This is how I want it. These gaps are perfect as well over here too. There's going to be tile walls over here as well, so they wouldn't be able to do anything with this anyway. So that's how that's going to sit. Basically, I just need this to sit and cure for about 30-45 minutes or so, and I can move the stilts away from it and it'll be totally fine. I may let it cure a little bit longer. But while we wait for that, we have no time to spare, so let's move on to the next one. And voila. Oh my gosh, these are already looking so cool. Especially with this right here, having these kind of 3D backgrounds and stuff like that. I can only imagine what this is going to look like when it's done. I'm super stoked. This is super cool. But let's move on to the last one, shall we? Now we just need to put this in place. Let's see how this fits. It already looks super cool with this 3D background already in here as well. With this 3D cork, I should say, already in here. With one hand, I am holding up the lid because I don't have another thing that's holding it up currently because I never really go in this enclosure. Really like how this is looking. I think this looks really solid. What do you guys think? What do you think of this so far? Let me know down in the comments. If you guys use these cork tiles for your backgrounds, for your animals, I want to hear that as well too. Other people as well too would love to hear it as well. So let me hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Right now, let's let this cure before we move on to the next step, and I will see you once it's done. And the fun doesn't really just stop right there. We're not just waiting on this back wall here. We have these other side walls to do, and I have all this leftover cork that I'm basically trying to use up. So really what I'm going to do is I also do have these smaller cork tiles over here. I'm going to use these basically on this side wall over here. Not truly sure yet if I'm going to keep them horizontal like this or if I'm going to do them vertical. That's not really what I'm doing. The fun part too is I'm trying to see what I can do with these little cork flats that I have. Not really little, but longer cork flats, and I can cut these to whatever I want. But basically I'm just kind of looking around and seeing like maybe I could do something like this and kind of put it at an angle. That way it's wrapped around this cork round right here, so the entrance and everything. The goal that I'm really trying to go for, and I think anyone should really go for, I suggest, is not to make this look uniform because nature isn't perfect. So really I want this to look a little bit more natural and not completely uniform or anything like that. So that's what we're going to do. But these little pockets and openings also give me little spots where I can put plants and stuff like that and planters. So that's also another great thing that I'm super excited about as well too, is maybe putting a planter over here, a planter over here, maybe something up here as well too, and over here. We can do some really cool things. You're not going to see any black on this background or anything like that. We're going to make it look completely natural. It's all going to blend in seamlessly at the end of the day. I promise you, stick with me. You'll kind of see where my vision's going as this goes on. And my vision's constantly changing. I had an idea going into this, but it's constantly evolving and changing. And I think it's going to look great as the end product. So I'm super stoked about that. Let's go and see what we're going to do with Ozzy's enclosure right here. Just kind of seeing what kind of options I have. I do have a lot of smaller pieces of cork that I can also work with as well too. I would love to incorporate this piece over here, I've decided, in some kind of capacity, as these have something that really prolongs out and really shoots out into the enclosure. So having something like this maybe that does something, or something of some sort, having this be incorporated somehow, some way, would be really something ideal. Maybe having it like maybe over here or something. But I would also maybe, I have some vine branches and stuff like that too, that I would love to kind of put over here to kind of look like maybe like a tree trunk or something like that. But maybe having a piece that looks like this of some sort would be really cool, and just kind of something that pops out, and then putting these as planters and making these filled with soil and putting some sort of plants in these. And it's cool too because they don't all have to fit perfectly, because like I said, all this black stuff right here is going to get fixed up at the end of the day. So that'll look really cool if we did something maybe with this. What we're going to do is we're going to glue this in first, and then we're going to work our magic. Let's do it. Alright, so we're already setting in pieces. As you can see, I set this in. I have this on a clamp over here, so that's drying. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have this one kind of sitting up high over here, so that fits snug right here. And then what we'll do is we'll fill in some little bits and pieces with like some smaller pieces of cork, along with branches and stuff like that over here too. Perfect. So this should be in place. We're just going to leave it like that, and that's how that's going to be. So that's going to sit like this. This piece is just kind of sitting there fortunately on top of that piece, so that'll be good. So within 30 minutes or so, that'll be cured enough just to get this into place. This looks really cool though. This is so cool seeing all this come together. So we're just going to keep puzzling pieces in, and after this goes, then we're going to move on to the next one. So I'm going to keep going on this one and puzzling this together, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Perfect, just like that. That is fully clamped right here. That looks awesome. So we're going to have these perfectly set into place right here. We're going to let these cure for a little bit, and then while this is doing its thing, I'm going to kind of map out how this is going to look, and I'm going to start setting the other places and the potters into place over here. That way that's all into place. So basically how this is going to look while we're here, as this is all curing and doing its thing, is it's kind of going to be on an angle like right here, I'm thinking. Something like this of sorts. And that's how it's going to look. So I think that's going to look really cool. It's going to protrude out a little bit. Some plants are going to be coming out of here. I think that's going to look really, really cool. Look at all the cork that's in here right now. So we have all the cork basically siliconed in place all throughout all these enclosures here. So you guys can take a look and see how this all has turned out. Now you might be wondering as well, okay, this looks great, Nick, but I am still seeing all this black space right here and all of that. So yes, you are going to be seeing that. As I said before, we are going to fill that in with the cocoa fiber, and along with, we're actually going to foam it. So we're going to make it so it kind of looks a little bit more natural with the cork bark itself. So we're actually going to be putting some spray foam all around here and putting that into place. Now what I also did is two things. So I actually have pieces like this, and I've made them into planters. So I put some actual screening on the bottom here, and I silicone that into place, and then we're just going to fill this with dirt, and then we're going to put in some plants in place, and that's what that's going to look like right there. Mind you too, we're going to be putting like some of the screening on here and on other parts as well too, just to make some other potters of sorts as well too. So it's going to look pretty seamless and natural too. So yeah, one more peek right now before we start foaming, but this is what they are looking like right now, guys. I'm super, super happy with how this looks. I know it doesn't look like a well-finished product right now. It kind of looks a little messy, and that's kind of what I want it to look like right now, but once we finish this, I promise you'll see where my vision's going with all this. So that's what we're going to do next, is we're going to foam it, and I will show you that process right now. Here we go. So there are going to be a few different ways to do this. I'm going to kind of talk as I basically walk, or should I say foam, as I do this. Typically when you're doing these kind of things, you want to ideally lay the enclosure on its side or back, whatever you are trying to do. Obviously with this big enclosure that we have, we are not able to do that with this. We don't have that luxury. We should be totally fine. We just got to work slow. We can't do too much, and I don't plan to do too much. The product that we're going to be using today that is commonly used throughout the industry is this stuff right here that I'm currently shaking. This is great stuff, expanding foam for gaps and cracks, and we don't need too much being sprayed in certain areas, going up and down especially, because this stuff expands quite quickly and it cures quite quickly as well. So what we're going to do is we're just going to spray nice fine layers all throughout here. As you can see, I'm also wearing gloves because you definitely want to be doing that. Cover an area as well too that you don't want to get this stuff on, because this stuff will get everywhere. It is definitely something to take caution. Have a plan beforehand. Like I said, as this thing cures, you normally have like about an hour to 2 hour time frame to kind of get everything fitting into place. As you guys know already, we already have the cork into place, but some people will literally lay the enclosure on its back, and then they will place the cork or whatever they have into the expanding foam itself. We'll do another build like that down the line, but for this is kind of what we have to do. As this goes and expands, it's going to expand outward, and that's okay. But we're just adding a fine layer. We're not trying to overdo it. We're not trying to make this super heavy where it's gonna fall off. You can actually cut away at this stuff once it cures. So you're gonna take like a razor blade or something of the sort, and you're going to cut away at it as it cures. So as you can see, that kind of looks like a nice corky kind of textury background. And as you chip away at it and stuff like that too, that's how that's going to go and develop. So that's perfect. That's all I really need for that exact area. You want this to just kind of be a part of the wall in the background, right? So that's why we're doing this. We're wanting this to look super cool, super natural. Should be good right there. See how it kind of vines like this and stuff? I like to use a lot of these pieces because it just looks really cool, really natural stuff, and it's great. And then obviously once this cures, what I'm going to use is some black or brown silicone that's safe and doesn't have any mold inhibitors in it or anything like that. We're going to be putting that in here as well to cover up the foam from this yellowish look that it's going to come out to be. And it's going to be something that's going to literally look out of the jungle and blend in. So you guys can kind of get the picture of what I'm doing here. Again, just kind of like silicone Don't try, if this gets on anything that you don't want it to get on, let it cure first. Don't try to rub it off and try to get it off immediately. Like if this literally, for example, fell on the carpet, yeah, you're probably going to ruin a little bit of the carpet, not gonna lie. But leave it as is and then basically try to take it apart later. That's probably going to work in your benefit to try to salvage as much of whatever you're trying to fix. So yeah, like I said, this is a really good start so far. Like I said, we are going to basically kind of let this kind of dry and cure for a bit. I'm definitely going to have to be doing a little bit more work at the bottom here just to kind of blend this in a little bit and just kind of maybe continuously attach it before it's all said and done. Looks great though, honestly. I'm really happy with how this is turning out. We're going to move on to the next one right now as this one cures, and we're just going to go down the assembly line. Let's do it. Now you're probably going to be seeing like how this texture looks. We're going to carve away a little bit probably at it, but this is basically the rundown of how this will look. So really cool stuff. This product works great. You gotta let it cure, you gotta let it seal up as well too. That's the recommendations I have for you. But we got one enclosure left. Let's get at it. Here is the finished product of the foam after it's cured. We haven't carved out anything yet. Maybe I carved out a little bit here on these planters over here. As you can see, I stuck some planters all throughout the scape, so it looks really good, honestly. The rock wall itself just looks really solid, really natural looking, and that's kind of what I was going for. And that's what I wanted, was something that blends with the cork, and I think that did it perfectly. Like I said, we're going to silicone and put over a whole bunch of stuff too to seal this up and make it look really natural. We'll come over here now. You can check this out. This is the third enclosure right here. And every scape is awesome because it just looks different. Every single enclosure just has a different vibe to it. Now what we have to do is we're going to prep these guys and we're going to start painting on some silicone. We're probably going to go down the line. We're going to start with this one right here. We're going to paint it all, make sure everything is good. So carved it down, the doors shut. I double checked them all just to make sure that everything would be able to shut. So basically the next step is we're going to be painting down the line. So I'm just going to get this one done and I'm going to show you guys the general gist of what I'm doing here, and then I'm going to knock out the other two. Then you guys will see what the final product looks like after that. So we're going to first start with, and you can do this simultaneously or just kind of start it off, but I'm going to start with using the cocoa bedding, and I'm just going to paint it on. I have a cheap little paintbrush here, 100% black silicone here. You can black, brown, whatever. Clear is fine too, but I mean, it's a little bit harder to cover all this then. It's great to wear bad clothing for one for this whole project, and also gloves as well too, so you can kind of smear it on. So one hand's going to be basically for smearing, the other's going to be for painting, as well as putting on the bedding, and kind of go from there. So without further ado, let's get to this. I'm just going to do a nice layer like that, just to start. And you just, it's thick, you know, it's not like a paint, it's silicone at the end of the day, right? So I mean, you're gonna want this to coat as well as possible, being that it is silicone. So keeping those things in mind. It's tedious, but it's fun. You know, if you really like DIY projects, this stuff is going to be up your alley. If you don't like this kind of stuff, you can definitely get this already pre-done. A lot of places do custom background work and what have you. I personally like doing this. I'm not opposed to getting custom background work done, but I kind of like having this creative process and doing these kind of things and making these enclosures very customizable to preferences that I would enjoy, as well as upmost the animals. Ideally, again, you want to do this when it's laying down because it's so much easier. I've only had to do this once standing up before. And then we're going to shop vac afterwards any excess and what have you. And I'm just going to put a nice layer right on top like so. You even don't get every single spot. At least the silicone is black, so it's not going to be as noticeable for those real tight spots that you just don't get. And see how quick and seamless that was, really? I think this looks so far so cool. Honestly, this is going to look great once it's all said and done. We are basically done. I would say pretty darn close. As you can see, we have completely filled in the foam with cocoa bedding and a mixture of that along with the sphagnum moss, and it looks phenomenal throughout all these enclosures. So that's all good over here. Every single one of them has their own little look and take to them. It looks really, really nice. I just love how you get something from scratch and it doesn't look like it can be anything, but then once you add like a little bit of this and a little bit of that, I mean, it really comes to life. Looks really cool. And we're not done. Like I said, we still have to put in the bedding, put in the branches and the substrate, and then put in some plants as well, and then finally put in the new inhabitants to their new homes. So we will be putting them in here in a bit. So that's the next steps, guys. So I'm gonna get to work, get that going, and I'll see you in a second. So take a look at these guys. So we have all three of the doors on right now. They are looking great. I'm probably going to paint these all black at a later date, but I'm not worried about that right now. That's something I can always deal with at a later date. I'm not too worried about that. But besides putting the bedding inside and doing the final door, there's one last thing that I also implemented that we needed to do before we started doing more work on the inside. And this is what it was. Bam! Just like that, we have lights. So look how cool these lights are. So these are nice nano LEDs that I put on top here. Perfect for plant growth. The animals are going to love them as well too. It's really nice naturalistic coloration to these as well. So it's going to show really nice. But yeah, on the inside here, we're very close to being done. We're on the final stages right here. So all I have to do really right now is I have to put in some potting soil, and then I have to put in some plants. And then afterwards, we're going to be putting in other things too, like the branches inside here, some hides, and the water. And then lastly, we have to put in the residents themselves. So we're going to be putting in Ozzy and Johnny into their brand new enclosures here. I'm so stoked, guys. This is going to be really cool. Now, as this project goes on, there's going to be more and more green natural plants being put in here. To start, we're just going to start with a couple that we have. And then as time goes on, I'm going to keep grabbing some more plants from garden stores and reptile shows as well to really deck these things out. So I'm really stoked about that. Probably the one that's going to do the best, I would say, to start off with, is going to be the one that's going to be the least disturbed, which is this enclosure over here. That's probably going to have the best growth in it, so maybe it's going to turn into its own little nursery. What we're also going to implement down the line is probably a misting system. I'm going to probably put a little spout right there that's going to mist these enclosures and everything, get these all plumbed and drained. I think that's going to be a really cool idea as well too. I say we have a great foundation to start on for sure. So this is what we're going to begin with, and I'm so stoked. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to plant these out. I'm going to start with the decorations, and you're going to be a part of that process. Okay, so I dirted the planters, so that's out of the way. And really now it comes to the decorating and the fun stuff. Putting in everyone's hides. So I have these hides. And over here is going to be for Johnny's future girlfriend, so we're gonna put this one over here. Everything is put into place. I think that looks good right now. Like I said, things can always change as time goes on. I'm not set in stone with everything here. We can always change things around. That's totally fine. So yeah, like I said, I want to plant some of these bigger plants right now. So we're gonna start with Ozzy's enclosure. I have this really nice plant. I really don't know the name of these plants offhand because I am not a plant guy for sure, but I got these from my good friend Mitch Belleville of NJP EXOTICS, so shout out to him. Thank you so much, Mitch, again. If you haven't seen that video already, definitely go check out the tour of his place. It was really cool to see. He has some incredible stuff. So now we're gonna pull out this guy. Perfect. So yeah, that's all in there. That's going to be perfect. That looks really cool to start off, and that's just going to kind of branch and leaf up as time goes on as well too. Perfect. So those are in right there. Like I said, these are small little trimmings right here, and then as time goes on, we're going to put more stuff in. We're going to let this stuff grow out. It's going to look really cool. Then lastly, out of them all, I have this plant right here. So I was thinking in between, I have some planters over here that are really nice, but I also have this enclosure that doesn't have anything in it right now. So I'm kind of torn in between. What do I do right now? So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this guy over here, and then eventually I'm going to put in some other different plants like pothos and other things over here, and we're going to kind of see how that works out. So let's put this guy right up here. I'm going to water all these down, get them kind of settled inside here, and then afterwards we're going to start going in and putting in some branches and going with the flow of that. But I love this already. I think this is super exciting, already seeing some greenery in here. It's really cool to see that. We started with some real plants in here. Let's knock out some of the branches, get some water bowls in here, and get the animals in here. I've always loved this branch for Johnny, so I think we're going to kind of throw this back in here. And I have a whole bunch of branches here, which will look good, as well as I have some fake vines as well too. Trying not to really use those as much, but I mean, I think we can really do some really cool things with these pieces right here. I may have to trim a couple of these pieces down, but kind of working with what we have and seeing what it looks like. So let's kind of finish up Johnny's enclosure here. Maybe I'll put a piece like that. That should be good. That holds pretty well as well. So we may test out something like that, but I think that's pretty good to start with his stuff. So at least he can kind of zoom around and test out some of these branches. To start, I think that's a pretty nice branch right there. I'm gonna rip this off a little bit, but that should be good right there. And that adds another bracket right here to add another branch over here. So let's see what else we have. I want something that's kind of gonna go straight across. So like so. That's in between two potters, and that sits right on that ledge right there. Oh, that looks so cool. Great. I think that looks perfect as is. I think we're good with this one. I think these are looking so cool and great. Man, these are always so exciting to make. I love making enclosures because of all this. We could probably make 2 branches out of this guy. So let's see. Where do I want to break this? Right about here. Like that. Great. There we go. Nice little lodge right there. And then I kind of just test these to make sure that it's going to hold whatever gets thrown in it. So a nice little spot right here where they can perch out, because this is the entrance right here for between both of these enclosures. So maybe something right here that they can kind of perch out and everything. That's great. I think these are perfect. And then lastly, I'm going to add some sphagnum moss into the actual caves themselves, so they have something that can be a nice little moist hide for them. Great for shedding purposes. These guys love humidity, so that is something that we definitely want to make sure we're implementing as well. I do also have one fake plant that I also want to put in. So alright, so we have those in place. Those aren't looking too bad, but I just wanted a little bit more greenery in this middle one since we just had that vining plant. At least till we get some other natural plants in here, then I'll probably take those out. But to start, I don't think they look that bad. As well as I also have this piece right here, which for right now, maybe I'll just kind of throw in here just to kind of give myself some ideas. So for right now, I think these enclosures are all set and ready to go. And like I said, as time goes on, we're going to be changing things up. We're going to be adding more plants to these. For right now, I think it's time to get the snakes in these enclosures and let them explore their new homes, because at the end of the day, that's the biggest opinion that matters most, is seeing if they approve of these enclosures. So let's grab Johnny, let's put him in his enclosure first. So let me go grab the snake hook and we'll grab him. Looks like Johnny is in shed, but we're going to scoop him right up and we're going to put him right into his enclosure right here. You are a feisty little guy, but here you go, buddy. I know he's kind of a little blind right now, so he's probably freaking out a little bit as to what is going on right now. How cool is this, guys? Seeing the first inhabitant to his enclosure right now. So cool to see. Man, he looks so good in there. I can't wait to see once he's out of shed what he looks like in here, but man, he looks incredible. Let me pull you guys off the tripod so you guys can see him really quick. Look at him, guys. Oh, he is ready. He is not happy right now. He does not like going into his little side enclosure, but man, guys, he looks great in here. And again, he is going to have room on both sides of this enclosure right now. He's been in here his whole life. He's not had a problem. He's a full-grown adult male. Totally fine. A lot of room for him to branch out. But I love that he's using these ledges right now. He's just really trying to get the feel for the place. He is definitely a Spitfire, that's for sure. So he will definitely take a chomp out of me if I went close, especially when he's in shed. He's definitely easier to get out when he's in shed, so that's good at least. But man, guys, he is looking incredible, and I am so excited to see once he's out of shed those really vibrant emerald greens on him. It's kind of blending in with his surroundings right now. So that's what happens with him when he's in Southeast Asia in the forest, is he will just kind of blend in. He'll look like a vine. So that is really cool to see, but so cool. We're going to let him kind of get acclimated for right now, and we're going to continuously check in on him and his progress in these enclosures. But I think he's looking amazing in here. I'm so excited for you, Johnny. I'm hoping you love your enclosure. That's typical rat snake behavior right there. So we're going to let him do his thing, and we're going to go grab Ozzy. All right, and lastly, we have right here Ozzy, the jungle carpet python. So he is going to be getting big in here, that's for sure. He's only a sub-adult right now. And again, these are great enclosures for these guys because these both are arboreal species of snakes right here. So he is going to, he's checking out Johnny's enclosure right now. But these are going to be great enclosures for him. He's definitely going to get a upgraded enclosure down the line. But as he's growing out as a sub-adult, this is going to be perfect for him. I can already tell. He is checking out Johnny's enclosure. He's like, what is going on? Is this one of these enclosures for me? So what we're going to do is we're going to watch him kind of explore. Look, there he goes, guys. Look at this. We're just going to kind of let him go. He's going to vine. Oh, this is so cool, guys. This is exactly what I wanted for these guys. He's utilizing those branches. Gosh, he's got some great coloration under these lights too, which is what I wanted. I wanted something naturalistic looking for these guys. And like I said, guys, he is going to outgrow this for sure. And he's going to get something a lot bigger down the line. But I mean, to kind of put it in perspective for you guys, he has a lot of room in here to grow. So he is perfectly fine in here for sure. They are just looking great. I mean, both him and Johnny over here. Johnny's just checking out things right now. These guys are going to love their enclosures for sure. This is what it's all about, and this is what I love to do, and this is what I want to do more of down the line, is constantly making more naturalistic setups for my animals and doing some really cool things with it, and taking you guys on these adventures too, and getting your tips and hopefully giving you tips as well, and kind of sharing ideas and bouncing ideas off of one another. another. That's what it's all about. So I hope this was a great video for you guys. I hope it was informative for you guys. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. If you guys have built any enclosures, if you have any questions about building enclosures, I would love to hear them, or any advice that you guys have as well. I'm all ears. So definitely leave those comments down below. And one last look at Johnny over here. He's checking things out too. But thank you guys so much again for watching. It truly means the world to me. If you guys could do me a few favors, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. It helps this channel a lot when you guys do those types of things. And definitely share this video with a friend too, if they're thinking about getting some reptiles, or if they're thinking about building some enclosures for their reptiles and doing some DIY projects and making them naturalistic looking. This is the way to start. Definitely make sure you check us out on our social media as well too, as well as hit that notification bell. I would greatly appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed this build, and definitely stay tuned because we're going to be showing and updating the progress of these enclosures as these plants grow out and as these snakes get more established as well too. We're going to be updating these enclosures, I promise you, and these snakes as well too. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much again for watching, and until next time, we will see you guys soon. Take care.